so much roof. So shiny. Always with the belt. Hi, I'm Jamie. This is Dead Dodge Garage, and this is Mrs. Jamie's 1966 Dodge Coronet 440, and it's for sale. If you follow my channel, then you know this place is littered with cool classic cars. Some of them drive, some of them are slightly dead, some of them are slightly hopeless. I love few things more in life than collecting old Chrysler products, cars, trucks, vans from time to time, and fiddling with them. Now that I have YouTube, of course, well, I've been further encouraged to collect neat things for future projects and videos. I've been lucky and greedy enough in life at this point to have collected a different cool daily driver for every day of the week. It's completely ridiculous. I do not need all of these things. By no means am I suggesting I won't be collecting more projects for videos. I will definitely be collecting more projects for videos. But I've reached the point yet again where I've accumulated way too many things. Too many projects. More projects than I could ever get to in a lifetime. And now that it's spring, it's time for some spring cleaning. A good few project cars are going to be leaving us. Not that one. Not that one. And certainly not that one. Like, ever. There are certainly other projects I'm still interested in, still picking away at, and will not be getting rid of anytime soon. Like my 64 Power Wagon, for example. Gotta get a poly running under the hood of this thing. In the coming weeks, if you live in the Pacific Northwest or you're in the various Mopar groups on the FaceTubes, you may well see ads for my project cars. It's just time to get rid of some stuff. Make some space, free up some funds for other projects like cool drag car builds, and move on. And the Wagon is the first one hitting the block. This thing has been a trusty steed. It's been a bandwagon. It's been Mrs. Jamie's daily driver. In the last video on the Wagon, Alan and I finally fixed the nose. This fender, bumper, and grille surround were smashed for literally decades. It looks way better now. Obviously, there's a bit of a paint mismatch issue, but that's this whole other thing. The problem with this car is now, and has always been, neglect. It just sits and sits and sits. Every time I want to do something with this car, I have to revive it from a multi-month slumber. And I have to clean mold off of things. 10 years ago, this headliner was beautiful. At this point, it's getting a little bit seasoned and it needs some love. The upholstery has gotten pretty well sun-faded somehow. We hardly even have sun here. I've always had a rule about stuff just sitting around. If it's not getting used, if it's not being enjoyed, if nothing is happening with it, well, it probably doesn't need to be here. We've certainly had some good times in this car, but it's just not being driven, and it's not going to be driven anytime soon. So Mrs. Jamie has made the decision to sell it. I decided to make this video so Dead Dodge Garage followers might possibly have a chance to buy this thing. So today, we're going to take this thing for one last good test drive. I'm going to show you all of the excellent features, and we'll get a really close look at the Coronet station wagon. Now, 66 and 7 Coronets in general are pretty neat machines. These, of course, hail from the time of Elwood Angle, and for that reason, they have pretty straight, simple body lines, something I really admire and appreciate. They're not quite as straight and simple as the similar Belvedere of 66 and 7. Those are perfectly straight right here and have almost no character at all. It's hard to tell without looking down the body like this, but the 66-7 Coronet, and by extension the 66-7 Charger, actually does have a bulge here at the quarter panel. It has a bit of that Coke bottle shape going on that the second generation Charger is so famous for. It's a pretty classy look. Somewhat understated, but there is actually a lot of style to this. The Coronet rides on the mid-sized B-body platform. This, of course, was the downsized chassis that Plymouth and Dodge used for 1962 across the board. This would go on to underpin all kinds of famous muscle cars like the Charger and the Roadrunner and the GTX. Coronet 440 was a trim level. I know this side trim is specific to the 440, and I'm sure there are other appointments that were found on these and not found on the basic Coronet models. That designation has absolutely nothing to do with engine size. This trim level started before the 440 engine existed. However, we've made an honest Coronet 440 out of this one. Originally under the hood here was a 318 polyhead engine. That engine was kind of tired. It had a consistent spark knock issue. It got terrible fuel economy and made no power. So years ago, I actually installed this 1978 motorhome 440 into the Coronet wagon with a 727 torque flight behind it. I actually completed that project for a friend who bought the car. This was done at the same time as a power disc brake conversion, a front suspension overhaul, the installation of a big gigantic tubular sway bar, and many other small upgrades. As you can see, I painted this thing turquoise before installing it. It was very pretty at that time. Unfortunately, the car has been kept outside ever since, and that paint is looking kind of worse for wear. There's a freshly painted 440 installed in the Wagon. This was January of 2017. Everything in there looked really nice, you know, for a while. This is a 26-inch truck radiator. It almost fits. This thing has had a consistent squealing alternator belt ever since we installed this drivetrain. The reason for that is, in the motorhome, this thing had an AC compressor on top, and the belt that ran the alternator would have gone over that. In fact, there would have been two of them, and then there would have been a tensioner thingy over here. All of that is gone, but we still have this goofy single water pump pulley. That is connected to the power steering, and this alternator belt comes from the crank pulley straight to the alternator. If you tighten the ever-living crap out of this thing, it'll be kind of quiet for a while. But the noise always comes back. Could I fix this pretty easily? Absolutely. The car is equipped with an HEI conversion kit. This module and this Excel super stock coil have been rock solid in this car for years and thousands of miles. Way back when this thing was still poly-powered, it had a legendary power steering leak for like years. It was the old school Chrysler or Thompson pump. We've run countless quarts of the power steering stop leak through this car. Eventually, I replaced the front seal and it was perfect. Almost immediately after that, we ripped the poly and that power steering pump out. Now it's got the later Saginaw setup. Here's a classic shot at my old house. You can almost see the oil slick underneath the Wagon from that horrible power steering leak. As mentioned, at the same time as the engine swap, we did essentially a front-end overhaul and several choice upgrades. One of them was a factory 70s Chrysler disc brake kit. Another, gigantic Hellwig tubular sway bar. Believe me when I tell you that made an amazing difference. It also got all new bushings, new shocks, and a firm feel gearbox. I did the same disc brake swap on my 1966 Charger before I did this one. On that car, though, I used manual disc brakes. For this one, we got this booster and 2-bolt master cylinder kit, and believe me when I tell you, this works amazingly well. Seriously, this car has the best brakes of anything in the fleet, and I'm including my 2018 Challenger in that. Simple Edelbrock 750 carburetor. This thing was brand new when I installed it. It looks like garbage now. I mentioned neglect being the biggest issue for this car, and that is 100% accurate. I've had to clean this carburetor out multiple times, like pretty much annually, because small amounts of moisture and nastiness always seem to gather in the lower sections of this carburetor. I'm confident the fact that I insist on running ethanol fuel in all of my classics has something to do with this, but sitting around is definitely the main issue. I drove this car to the big Woodburn Mopar Nationals race and car show and swap meet thing in Woodburn, Oregon last year. Before I did that, I made a bunch of small improvements, like installing the correct Edelbrock throttle adapter piece, tuning the low car kickdown cable, yes, it is actually a real low car, not the cheapo Amazon knockoff version. I also installed a new throttle cable and did other things. Oh, new air filter. Nice. The oil is still fairly clean in this thing. It really hasn't done many miles, but it does need to be replaced solely because of the ravages of time. Oh, at least someone will be concerned about the heater hoses sitting right here above this exhaust manifold. They've been that way for years and it's never been an issue. I had dreams of cleaning this 440 up, detailing it like a factory engine, getting the proper car valve covers on it, and maybe a factory unsilenced air cleaner, then giving it a new spritz of turquoise paint like I did the 68 Charger, but that's just not going to happen at this point. It's a hood release, and it's happy to see you. Oh, one more awesome feature. Red Bull overflow can. Back when the fender was smashed, this hood always shut like garbage. Can't remember if I fixed that or not. Oh yeah, perfect. How do you like the 66 Coronet taillight tail panel setup? I think it's neat. Note the running lights do work, the brake lights work, the turn signals are a little goofy. Almost stole this very nice rear bumper from my 66 Charger like a decade ago. Only 66 Coronets and 66 7 Chargers used this front bumper, and for that reason they're pretty hard to come up with. I actually looked for a better one for this car for years before giving up and straightening this one myself with Alan's help and a press. Isn't this 1-year 1966 Coronet grille neat? Way more neat when it's not smashed. The hidden parking light and turn signal is one of the cooler parts. I did have both of these working, but we're back down to one. Cool music stickers included free of charge. Everybody loves the Sun sticker. Whitewood Funk was my old band. I was the Wood, and my friend Drew that owned this car for many years was the Funk. This thing made the perfect bandwagon. countless amplifiers, guitars, and basses and such have been shoved back here over the years. One of the greatest parts has to be this factory roof rack. That is a neat piece. The rear seat folds down, of course, and then there's a panel that's supposed to be attached to it, but isn't for some reason. It is possible to get this to close perfectly flat if you play your cards right. There you go. Really nice for camping. I shared a lot of the history found in this interesting stack of documentation in the glove box in the beginning of the Woodburn video. So if you want to know more, I'd go check that out. The short strokes version is, this car was purchased brand new in Vallejo, California by a gentleman named Wilbur Ridge. He worked for the Navy and drove this car there all the time. He kept pretty good records, it turns out. Someone probably should have put this stuff in a bag at some point. Wilbur moved with this car from California to Washington in the late 1990s. It's been through several owners since then. I actually know most of them. Oh yeah, on the Woodburn trip, I had the windows down at like 80 miles an hour allegedly, and parts of the broadcast sheet started blowing out of the seat. Really unfortunate it's that cooked, but it is cool. We'll save that for a souvenir. Because this car is from California, it's remarkably solid for a Chrysler product from the 60s or 70s. It is not perfect. The biggest issue with this car has always been a leak through/around the heater box. Water tends to gather right here on the passenger front floor, and for that reason, there is unfortunately now a hole. This was just a soft spot for many years. Heck, when I first saw this car, it still had all the carpet. Probably should have dealt with this a long time ago, but, you know, I didn't. The only other notable rust spot on the car is right here in the rear right quarter panel. This is the spare tire well. The spare tire sits up vertically behind a trim piece over here on the passenger side, and that had several small holes when I first saw this car over a decade ago now. Unfortunately, they've become a much larger hole. The tire is still hanging in there. That's good. Also, there's now a hole here. This is going to require attention. I'm going to put this car up on the lift in a minute here so we can look at the underside in great detail. We're going to see those couple rust spots that need attention, but we'll also see the super solid chunks of car like this rear left quarter panel, the rockers, most of the rest of the floor, the trunk. Let's talk known issues. This car has a power rear window, and it doesn't work anymore. Sometimes when you hit the switch, there's a vague clicking sound from the back, but that motor just seems to be dead. That happened at the same time this happened. See, we used to use this car to like get groceries and bring large things home. And on one such trip, we allegedly heard a popping noise when the rear door was closed. That seemed to be a bolt or stud going through this driver's side hinge for the rear door. It just sheared off. The door still latched, and the window still rolled up at that time, but the next time I tried it, it would not budge. See, lesser wagons would have a hand crank right here. This one has a key switch, which also rolls the window up and down. Or at least it did before the original key was lost. Because the window can't be opened, the door can't be opened, because this glass slots into this gasket in the body. So to repair this, somebody's going to have to crawl back here and pull that panel. Get in, test the motor, see if that's the issue. If it's totally dead, one could probably lower the window by hand, open the back door again, and then fix the goofy hinge thing. I meant to do this like 2 years ago, but I'm not gonna. This is the spare tire cover. This thing has been loose and flopping around for like ever. I think it's missing the little clips that are supposed to secure it. A piece of Gorilla Tape was doing the job for a long time. In case you were wondering, this is a basic 6-passenger wagon. There's no rear-facing seat back here. I've yet to see one of those in a B-body. They certainly install them in some full-size C-body wagons. The original floor covering is shrunken a little bit, which is a shame, but it is still here. You saw the rust hole in the front passenger floor. There's no hole in the rear passenger floor, but you can see some water does get back here as well. The carpet's pretty nasty and stained. Good news! I already bought carpet for this thing. And if you buy the car, you can have it. One of the rear door windows doesn't roll down. I think it's this one. Yeah, it just does that. I'm sure that could be fixed. Oh, needs the hinges lubricated. I know I mentioned the turn signal issue. If you listen closely, you can hear the blinker. This is the right blinker. It blinks fine. The left is weird. Currently it's blinking. Sometimes it goes slow. Sometimes it doesn't blink at all. And as you can see, currently the dash indicators are just dead. these were working before. The dash in general has a bad attitude. The fuel gauge used to work in this thing. Someone actually replaced the circuit board in this dash in probably the early 2000s. Well, now there's a dead circuit to that gauge. I've verified it is not the gauge itself or the voltage limiter in the dash. It is a connection issue. This used to work if I would just tap the dash or wiggle the back of this gauge, but now it's just dead. I think the temperature gauge was kind of dead the whole time. I do have a spare dash for this car. It's actually got the cool radio block-off plate too, and I'd probably include that. Radio's dead. I know that'll come as a shock. Heater. Fan only works there, and these do nothing. Every summer, I have to get up under the dash and close off the temperature door so it won't just blow hot air everywhere. Wipers work. These, of course, are the fancy 1966 variable speed wipers. Needs wiper blades, though. Day-night mirror. Pure luxury. This was falling off for years, and I finally fixed it before the Woodburn show. Floppy carpet. There was an aftermarket stereo under the dash. I don't know what happened to that. But there are dumb little speakers in the front doors for it. Oh, the glove box latch is goofy. You gotta try really hard to get it to close again after you open it. This vent works perfectly. This vent is seized, I think. Yeah, I don't like those noises. The horn does nothing. The shifter alignment is ever so slightly off. Reverse is like there. Neutral. Drive is drive. Allegedly, my brother almost ran someone over by firing this car up in reverse once. Tires. They're old, and these Krager SS wheels are not the nicest. I did have a set of slots on here with like 30-year-old rubber. It's one of those tires that exploded on me on the way home from that Woodburn show. If you want to drive this thing to like Mexico or something, put tires on it. There's a weird clunking noise when you goose the throttle and then let off. Took a while to figure that one out. Broken driver's side engine mount. I don't know why it took so long to figure that out because my 66 Charger did that like 5 times. This drivetrain has been rock solid. On the Woodburn trip, I ended up sitting in traffic for like 45 minutes in 85-degree weather, and the 440 never even got warm. This thing is a solid performer. It's not amazing. It's not like it'll do giant smoky burnouts all day long or anything like that, but it's got plenty of pep. The fuel economy does suck, but what do you want? 440. There's plenty of little cosmetic stuff. This car is essentially a survivor. Aside from that front right fender that I replaced, the rest of the body is original, and it has seen some little things. The front fender trim spears, the ends here, both of them are missing, and that's really irritating. That trim's damaged. The 440 emblem on the driver's side is gone. Rear driver corner is whoop-de-dooed in several places. Rear passenger quarter isn't much better. This piece of trim is rolled into the door, which I hate. This one's falling off. This one's kind of falling off too. That's my bad. This fender was painted, not quite to match, and then stored in less than ideal conditions for years before I finally installed it. So there are a couple goofy little scrapes and other things. Like every Survivor car, you're going to find goofy little touch-ups, little scrapes, dings, dents, things of that nature. But I can tell you with 100% certainty, this car has like no Bondo in it. Okay, this also needs some lube or something. Here we've got the 66 Coronet up on the lift, and we can eyeball all kinds of important details. Here's a really big one, the giant tubular Hellwig sway bar. 70s factory Chrysler type disc brakes with the single piston calipers. I believe this kit came from Right Stuff Detailing. Firm feel steering gearbox. I believe this is a stage 1. It could be a stage 2 though. There's the slightly broken engine mount. You would think I'd just have one of those for a B-body, but no. Here's the factory 8 3/4 axle and factory center section. This does have 2 9/4 gears, as you can see on the tag there. Here are the heavy-duty leaf springs. I installed these in the back of the car, I want to say 8, 9, 10 years ago? I don't even know anymore. Leaf spring replacement, June 2015. There it is, pre-leaf spring in lowrider mode. Also, Collins Duster. Custom-built dual exhaust. Those are just your cheap, basic Raptor brand turbo mufflers. I used to put those in everything. It is 2.5 inches all the way back, and this little bit of bottom mount damage happened before the rear leafs were changed. It used to sag quite a bit. When we got the car, there was nothing here. That was all solid, and there were just little spots. And here's the passenger side floor from the underside. You can see exactly how bad that is. It's an area of about, I guess, 1 foot by 1.5 feet. I did clean up the oil pan, the transmission bell housing area, and the transmission pan. There's a good bit of fluid collected down here. This thing hadn't been wiped down in years, so honestly it wasn't all that bad. Snugged up the oil pan and fixed this bolt. Somehow I'd cross-threaded it and it was just kind of left that way. Snugged up the transmission pan too. Yes, there are a couple holes in this car, but look at all the solid metal. Rockers, beautiful, covered in original paint. The driver's side floors are absolutely perfect. Just a little bit of flaky undercoating in places. That is all solid metal. Trunk floor, absolutely perfect. Frame rails, everything else important, looks great. But what's it like to drive? Let's find out. Is there gas in this car? I think there's gas in this car. Classic Mopar problems. I've demonstrated how awesome this thing is to drive many times on the channel. It really is. It handles nice, it's got decent power, and the braking is amazing. I will say I'm getting a bit of an unhappy hesitation today. It's probably time to clean the carb out again. It's a recurring theme. Every year, like clockwork, I've got to go in there and blow the little cruddies out. It rides really nice. This thing still has factory springs in the front. It has heavy-duty 6-segment leaf springs in the back. They helped a serious sag that the car used to have. Carries weight great. This thing should really have a tow hitch on it. Always wanted to do that. I mean, this 440 used to haul a giant Class A motorhome around. This little Coronet and a trailer, no problem. Look at how flat it handles. Watch this. Just does not care. It corners in a truly amazing way for a 5,000-pound gigantic boat. All right, it doesn't weigh 5,000 pounds, but it's pretty heavy. Whee! When I say this thing is fun to drive, I mean it. It has no business handling as well as it does. Brake check. It's just hilarious. Oh yeah, broken engine mount. It's not great. Yeah, idle circuits are coming and going. What's probably happened there is little bits of water and nastiness are gathered below the main jets. That's where the idle circuits pull their fuel out of. I'm gonna have to go in and blow that stuff out. Then it'll be perfect again. The belt will still squeal. I just washed that. Here we are in the river spot, probably for the last time. You know, as long as someone buys this thing. Look at this thing. It's amazing. It's pretty straight, pretty original, pretty nice. You know, it could use some little things. I'm thinking fresh wheels and tires. The several issues I've detailed here. Obviously a little bit of rust repair. Maybe someday an actual paint job. Or don't do any of that and live the ratty station wagon lifestyle. I'm a fan. I suppose now's a good time to remind everyone that the odometer is broken. It actually died right after 30,000 original miles. We have documentation from the original owner to prove this. So how many miles are on this car? No idea. Pretty sure it's more than 100,000, but well less than 150. This minty brake pedal pad tells me it can't be too many. Yeah, we're probably gonna regret selling this machine, but it is what it is. We simply cannot keep every one of these classic Mopars. This has always been one of the greatest members of our fleet. It's cool, it's solid, and it's certainly the best to drive. Hopefully someone out there will get just as excited about it as we always have been, and it'll go to a good home. I just can't watch things sit around and rot anymore, and I hope everyone understands that. Yes, some projects that people have loved seeing on the channel are going to go away, but there will always be more. Don't you worry about that. If you need this fantastic hunk of slightly rusted automotive excellence in your life, the price is $12,000. It's located in Western Washington, and I've got a clean title in hand. I'd be happy to facilitate shipping this thing for you too. Although if you live anywhere nearby, you should drive it home, because it's awesome. All right, I guess I'm gonna go home and clean out the idle circuits now. Edelbrocks. Why is this guy going like 20? The wagon doesn't speak 20. Whether you want to own a fantastic big block powered 1966 Coronet station wagon or not, I hope you enjoyed this video, taking one last look at this sweet machine. I do thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time. And remember, can't hug every cat. Oh, good brakes. They've done studies, you know. 60% of the time, it works every time. What an absolute unit.